This particular recording will focus solely on creating a design and the pieces that will go together for that purpose. Let me just tell you that up to this point you've been engaging in many different kind of mini assignments, and all of those mini assignments are building towards the final project, which is creating your own design. So I'm going to explain a little bit about how these pieces fit together, and then I will also be going over some of the different components or parts of the final design creation process, which will include the components that you've made previously. Assignment 4 is an assignment in which you provided some of the background information on your particular area. So you'll notice that when you create your design, you'll have a title and you'll have a little description of the area, and then you'll also provide some background. So assignment number 4 should have been the assignment that will help you when you get to the background portion, and all of these different components that I'm talking about are explained in detail in written instructions in the course site as well. In addition to that, you are engaged now in assignment number 6, and you've recently completed assignment number 5. These also build towards the final design, so they should help you in the synthesis section, and that'll be clear when you create your design and look at the pieces that I describe. But they follow the CASA model, so now that you've built your Google Doc assignments towards understanding of the content, asynchronous, synchronous, and assessment portions of the CASA model. The completion of assignments number 5 and 6 should also help you when you get to the design creation phase. And then finally, your first couple of assignments after your introduction, assignments number 2 and number 3 were the building of many components. You will tie your components to the final design to help support the use of the design and the implementation of your design. And so you should have at least one theory, one strategy, and one tool that go together with your design to help support that overall picture. So you can see that all of the different pieces that we've done over the course of this class, assignments 2 through 3, assignments number 4, and 5 and 6, all will fit together in the creation of your final project. So let's provide a little bit of screenshots and some background. This is John Keevan, one of the actual co-creators of the MOOC that you are engaged upon and co-instructors in the summer. And so this is an example from his own components and design. So you can see you can always go to your profile. In your profile, you can easily find your components, and later when you create, if you create multiple designs, or if it's just one design for this final project, that's fine. But here you can easily see all of the components that you've created and what categories they are. So that should help you when you get to the part where you create your final design. Here's a screenshot showing just the bottom part of the design. The assessment part kind of came up. There would be more above that from the synthesis area. That'll be clear, I believe, when you engage in the creation. But you can see that when you tie your components to your design, they show up on the bottom, and then you don't have to duplicate all of the information that you put in those components. The reasons for doing those assignments was to support our ideas of what kind of tools we might use, kind of theories might support the kinds of designs that we might create in e-learning, and the kinds of strategies as well. And you'll notice that you might have multiple components beyond just the basic 3 of one tool, one theory, and one strategy. In other words, there might be multiple tools that you're using in your design, multiple theories, and even possibly multiple strategies. It will just depend on your own implementation, but at a minimum, you should have one component of each tied toward your final design. So let's talk a little bit more about that final design. Here I talked about the assignments. You'll also notice that there'll be some other sections. There'll be attachments. Those will be optional. So let's say, for example, that you were creating your final project design on some kind of class activity that you were having you engaging your students in. Perhaps you had some material, supplemental material, or your class lesson plan, or other support materials that you use for those assignments. So then you could easily attach those to your design as attachments, and they would be right there for anybody that went to your design and was interested in seeing any supporting materials. There's a section for references that support your design creation, whether that's the support of the tool, support of the theory, support of the strategy. Those could be within the components, but then also you may add additional references should you so desire, and that should just be mostly copy and paste when you get to that. So let's talk a little bit more about how to get to the designs to create them, and then I'll go over the design creation field, and that'll hopefully make it a little clearer on what you need to do as well. So you can always get to the designs by clicking on the design button that's located in our course website. All of the designs will be listed. I just did a screenshot of just a couple just to show you easily what's on the screen, but actually the add a new design button will be at the very bottom, so you'll have to scroll through all of the designs to get to the bottom to add a new design that way. That's one way of adding a design, but if you want to avoid having to scroll all the way to the bottom of the design page, another quick way of creating your own design at any time is just by clicking on your own username over here. It'll say hi and your name, whatever you have down as your username for the course. And then you'll see here, this is an easy way to add both components, but also designs. You just click on that plus button, and voila, you get to the My Design creation field. So two ways to get to the designs to add a new design. You can always get to your own designs as well. You could get to your own designs quickly. In addition, by also clicking on your username and then coming down to the My Components to view your components, or My Designs to view your own designs. But we're talking about adding new ones. So if I were to click the Add a New Design button here in the design page or in my username area, command area, those could be two ways that I could add my own designs. So let's talk about the add a new design field. So you can see some of this is self-evident. Some of it bears a little further explanation, and that is what my purpose is with this particular recording. Title your design. Remember to provide as a descriptive title as possible. The titles will become searchable later, so as much descriptive information that you can put here, balance between descriptive information and not making the title too long. A couple of lines, if you even a colon with further explanations. You can see some of the examples that are up there, and you can look at those examples and say, well, what kind of title do I like? What kind of title do I think is maybe a little too much? And then you can gauge that and decide for yourself what kind of title you want to do. But definitely want to be descriptive. And then you'll notice that those designs have a short overview about the design as well. So this is not all of the background information, but if you just, had a half a paragraph or so, consider, sort of like an abstract for a research article. If people wanted to quickly understand what your design was all about, then you can put a short description there. So those two are very important because those are the two items that will most likely be viewed quickly by the most amount of people. They'll go to that design page and see your icon and your title quickly, and perhaps look at your short overview to decide, oh, is this something that's my area, an area that interests me? Do I want to look further into this particular design? So these two actually tend to be important, but for description, but don't have to necessarily be long. And then there's the design synthesis section. So this is explained in detail in the written instructions. I'm not going over it now because you're just at the beginning stage of this, but this will match with the different categories of CASA. You'll put the excuse me, you'll put the background here that you did for assignment number 4, and then you'll put the content, asynchronous, synchronous, and assessment approaches that you might have included from the CASA model, and that can all easily be put in here. You can see you can bold things, you can italicize things, you can play with the formatting that you need to. For those of you that know HTML, you can embed HTML should you so desire. But this allows you to really make things look nice. It can do formatting here, so you can do it in such a way you can add images so that it gets the best look that you want. And it's okay in this first design. It'll be exploration, and you can always go back and change and edit these at any time. So as you get a little bit more familiar with the commands, you'll get it to more of the look and feel that you want it to be. I talked about adding attachments like lesson plans or supplemental materials. I talked about adding references, so those are right here, adding the attachment, adding the reference, very easy to do. Make sure that the allow comments and tracks are checked here. They should be checked by default. This is for the peer review process. You don't have to worry about this now, but when we engage in the peer review, we'll be able to look at each other's designs and then quickly comment on them, just like in a discussion. And then those comments will be tied to designs to help people further understand how their designs are perceived, and perhaps even modify their designs should they so desire. Over on the right hand side, we have a few possible section categories commands as well. There's the publish one. This is important. You can save the draft, and you can always come back to drafts later. So if you feel that it's not ready for prime time, you don't necessarily have to publish your designs yet, but do make sure that you save your drafts often, especially if you're here in the synthesis section and you're adding things. Go over there, click the Save Draft button. It's just like clicking Save on Word. You don't want to get into a situation where you did a lot of work and you didn't save, and some of that work might not necessarily be saved, and then you have to go and recreate it. When you're ready to publish it, the publish button is when it shows up on that design page that you see when you click on the designs in the course website. So as long as you don't click the publish button, and you can always change that later. If you clicked on publish and then you decided, oh gee, I don't want to publish, you can go back and you could modify that. But use the save draft until you're ready to make that prime time for the final project. And then you can publish it, and all of the different information that you put together for the design will show up. There'll be categories. You can categorize them. There's a lot of categories that are already there that we created for you to choose from. You can add your own category. We just add that use your best judgment in adding new categories. This is just to help people find things later. So as much as possible, we try to have general categories, and we're fully expecting that there's going to be a few designs that'll definitely be some of the first times that this particular content area might have come up. So it would be appropriate to add a new category in some situations. And then finally, I talked about connecting your components. So that's just done here. You go to the connected components. You click on this connect component button. There's quite a few components that show up that have been created over time in the course, but remember that you can always go back to your My Components. Look at the titles. The quickest way to get to your own components is to find the titles. There is a search field to find those titles to connect directly to your own components easily at that time as well. And then the featured image, that's an important one too. That's that image that you see that will show up as the main image in that design page that people will see when they go to that. And so that is like together with the title and the short description, those are the things that are going to be showcasing your design. And then people can decide if they want to go to the more specific pieces like the design synthesis and attachments and all of the additional information should they so desire. So that is just a short synopsis. If you have any questions, as usual, you can email the instructor, you can email your teaching assistants, however you desire. But get in there. The best way to learn, obviously, is by doing, as we say. Try out the designs and let us know if you have questions. And thank you for your attention to this recording. Have a good rest of your evening, morning, daytime, whatever it happens to be. Aloha.